The whole gimmick behind this art style is that it's cohesive and also makes contrast way easier to implement. I would like to add a disclaimer and say that this isn't a study of another artist's art style like my other studies, but this time it's more of an idea that I want to share. To start off, I want to introduce this idea I like to call a color range. A color range is a range of colors that appear in an illustration. Pretty self-explanatory, but to make it easier to explain what I mean, I'll go through an example. With the color pick tool, go over an illustration and pay attention to the saturation. Ignoring the outliers, the range of color that is color picked often is the color range for saturation. Do it once more, but this time focusing on the brightness. That is the color range for brightness. Keep in mind this doesn't need to be accurate, just rough enough is fine. The total range you mapped out is the color range of that particular illustration. You don't need to do hue, I mean, you can if you want to, it's just most illustrations have a crazy hue range, so sometimes it's not going to be that useful. Now, why do we even care about this? The color range, for the most part, tells you where most of the colors are. When you see a color that is outside the range, the color will stand out. If you see a color that is inside the color range, chances are it will stand out less. Really, this is just using the concept of values, but having it as this makes it a lot easier to digest, I hope. To put it simply, being aware of the color range makes it easier to choose contrasting colors. This means if you have a large range, it's going to be harder to contrast, because basically you have the whole color wheel in the illustration already. For this particular art style, the color range is rather small. If we were to split the color wheel into 9 equal squares, the color range is mostly on the top left. We will be mostly using colors in this little range. Another way to think about it would be like zooming in. Instead of using the whole color wheel, we will only be using a zoomed in version. Okay, cool, but like, what about when we want to use base colors that aren't in the range? For example, if we're going to be using the top left square, what if the hair color I want to use is black? Well, you're just gonna have to use black. A workaround you could attempt is by bringing the color you want to use as close to the color range as possible. Just keep approaching the color range and testing it out to see if it's still the color you intended. That was a lot of yapping. So let's see it in practice. And that wraps up everything for this art style study. Hopefully you got something out of it, or maybe you didn't. Now you have the idea of color ranges and value maps, which might be or might not be useful. In any case, it's a new way to think about colors at least. Good luck with your art journey, and thank you for watching.